Welcome to the Art of Dress. Today I'm happy to share with you a little bit more about ornament, the third part of style, fabric, line, ornament. And we're going to look at the true classics today and how they use ornament to come into their style inspiration. So thank you for coming and subscribing. The true classics use ornament in a similar way to the true gammon and the true natural, but similar but yet very different. So they do use edgings, they use all kinds of trims, they use borders, they use all kinds of things to accentuate the line, but they don't use the same kinds of edgings or the same kinds of trims at all. So let's just start with Elle fanning. So here she has a really beautiful dress, and the interesting thing about this from our standpoint is that her style inspiration is always to show the upper and the lower part of any garment, and the middle section is more or less less emphasized. So it's that upper and lower that have to be pronounced. And the way she's doing it here is just with this little bow, a little twill bow that's showing you that the pleating in the bodice is what's super important. And then she's repeating that kind of pleating in her skirt, same fabric, same type of, same sort of use of fabric. And so that's showing you that the middle is not so important. Now, what Liya Kebede, the true classic alpha, is doing is exactly opposite, and yet she uses a kind of similar thing. In this case, it's a ribbon, and it has a little bit of shine, but mostly what's happening is that ribbon is being used to accentuate the style lines of the garment in the center of her outfit. And it's very effective. So why are these two styles doing something that's similar yet different? Well, here we are again with our yin-yang wheel. And in this case, I'm pointing out to you the very, very center, which is where the true classic is. Just remember the yin-yang wheel, okay? The styles are arranged by focal point. The styles above the horizontal will all have focal points above the waist. The styles below the horizontal, below the waist. Elle Fanning and Liya Kebede are the two versions of true classic, and their focal point is exactly at the waist. So that's why they are in the center. You could call that the sun. So now it's only the Mars with the two styles and the two true classics are the only styles that use edgings and trims of all sort in order to bring their styles into their style inspiration. If you think about a style inspiration, that's what really gives you the work of art, because you're accomplishing something that has like a deeper meaning. And so these are the two groups, the sun, two planets, the sun planet with the two different types of true classic, and Mars, and they are the inside of the yin-yang wheel. So I want to show you a lot of different ways of doing this because it's not always easy to find clothing, and so having some imagination around it is probably what makes these two women have such incredible style. So let me just show you some of their ideas. So here you have Elle in this dress, very beautiful, and she's using ribbon, black ribbon on a white ground. And the ribbon is not only going up across her V neckline into her shoulders, but then down her sleeve with this black ribbon, and showing, really highlighting the top of her outfit. And here you have Liya Kebede, and she's using a trim at the top that is almost inconsequential, and a trim at the bottom that is also, again, it's probably matching, almost inconsequential. And then everything about her outfit is pointing you to the middle of her body. And you see how the white on the top and the bottom are less closely spaced, and then you get into the center and suddenly it becomes sort of quite a bit more unusual. It's no longer kind of forming horizontal lines. Now it's like forming this kind of pattern and much, more variation. There's more texture in the center. It's really interesting, and bringing all that attention to the center as a way of saying, this is what's important. And here you have, again, Elle fanning. So here what's happening is she has a closely spaced print in the center. Nothing great about it for her. But then she has her V neckline strongly accented, and then the bottom of her skirt starts where this matching trim is used to show the bottom of her outfit. And it's so interesting with Elle because often her trim, especially at the top, is the top of her outfit. And so it's wide, it's energetic, things are happening inside that trim, or sometimes it's really sparkly. So you're going to see quite a few examples, but here she is again. The trim basically becomes the top of her outfit. And now you have Liya Kebede, and it's like the complete opposite. So she has a vertical line running at the top, and notice that same vertical line is running at the bottom where her pant begins, and the center has an angled line. It has a change in colored trim. It becomes wider. The angled blue jets in. So even though there's a lot of things that it isn't that she might like, what it has a very clear center of focus, and it looks really good. Now in this case, Elle fanning is using just a gathered kind of ornament at the top. Again, the gathered ornament becomes the top of her silhouette, and it matches at the bottom, and everything else in the middle is sort of like low key and effective for her. And here's Liya, and again, she's using a very inconsequential trim at the top and matching at the bottom. And then she has vertical lines, but notice that she has fur in there. She has differentiation of fabric. She has lots of different things happening. I think she even has little pieces of leather. And so all of it is making the center of her dress the important part. When Elle fanning puts this top on, it's very clear that the focus is at the top. She has her V neckline shown by sort of insertion, and she also has other kinds of trims or edgings in there because she has some kind of a, just a little, oh gosh, what's that called? Where it's binding, so a little binding in there. But then she has all that sparkly kind of trim going on, and it's really bringing the attention to the top and showing, and she just uses a dark color for the bottom, but again, it differentiates. She, by the way, can wear separates, okay, and she uses it really effectively. And so here's this so unusual top by Liya. So she's got this kind of swirly thing going on top, and it's clearly differentiating the top from the middle. But then in the middle, she's using the same kind of some kind of edging there or binding, I don't know what it is. And it's going in a different direction. Change of direction, if you notice, is a big part of this. Both of them frequently use changes of direction as a way of highlighting and really pointing out that there's a change happening and really differentiating between the sections of their body. And obviously the center is important, the important part here for Liya. Now in this case, the horizontal banding with the center having basically nothing going on, and then the print starts up at the bottom and all kinds of other, activity, but the center is very simple. And in Liya's case, she's also can sometimes use this horizontal banding, but then in her case, she's got vertical lines closely spaced. And that's a big difference from what's going on elsewhere on her garment, like as if to say, pay attention, this is where the most important part is. So in this dress, once again, really dominant print, edging here, really dominant kind of trim at the top and at the part where the skirt begins, with the center not being so important in this case. And here we have the exact opposite. She still has a lot going on the top, and she has a lot going on the skirt, but she's got this clear line of demarcation in her bodice, and then this center section, which is far denser than anything else going on in her dress. And here she's wearing Elle is wearing a sparkly dress with all kinds of sequins, and so her trim becomes even more dominant, and so the trim becomes the top of her outfit. It's so usual for her. And again, with Liya, the trim at the top is really tiny. She's got a kind of a matching sort of fringe like at the very bottom. Again, it's there, but it's not dominant. And then in the center, she has vertical lines going that have there's sort of like a ribbon. I don't know if you can see it. There's like ribbon with little bits of sequins running in a vertical way all down the bodice, and then this very center marked with a belt. Both of them occasionally use a belt because their focal point is the waist, but you'll see it a lot more with Liya because she's bringing attention to the center. So back to our wheel again, these two styles are both sitting there in the center of the sun, but the things they have in common, you can call them all like planetary attributes if you wanted to, because they have the same focal point. They use the same kind of idea, but one uses a trim that is often inconsequential, and Elle, of course, uses trim as a substitute in many cases for the top or the bottom of her outfit. They both divide their bodies into four: a top middle, a bottom middle, and a bottom. But in the case of Elle, she uses her trim to highlight the top and the bottom, so the outer two sections, and Liya highlights the inner two. So they have a lot in common, they have a lot different, but what they have is the planet that they share brings them into a lot of things in common, and ornament is one of the main ones, and ornament is how they achieve their inspiration and their status as works of art in their clothing. So here we have one more time where the dress is not much happening below that trim. The trim becomes the upper part of the dress and brings her into her style inspiration. And a similar kind of trim for Liya, but now in her case, the trim is just there to mark off the top and mark off the bottom, and then the center is where all the action is with that kind of embroidery and also her belt. So thank you very much for sharing this with me today. It's really fun to show you the different ways of using edging, and that's it. Those are the only two planets where edging is the important part of their style inspiration. And next we're going to look at the second type of ornament, which in this case is the ruffle. A ruffle where you can imagine it's actually a piece of fabric that is connected to the main garment. And so in 1 week, I'll show you that. We're going to look at the planet Venus. So thank you again for coming and subscribing. And I'll see you soon. And in the meantime, please take care.